Before we get into today's NFL mailbag, if you enjoy these, if you like having a little back and forth, the questions, the comments, etc., then sub. Free videos every single day, live shows at this point twice a week in season. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. From EV, should Minnesota trade for Clyde Edwards-Helaire? There is uncertainty about how much time Aaron Jones is going to miss. I suspect this is going to be a multi-week injury that might not require an IR for Aaron Jones. As for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, still battling some PTSD stuff, which is obviously extremely concerning for him. He also hasn't been that great of a football player in his time in the NFL. And he had like 3.2 yards per carry last season. So running back is an area of concern right now for Minnesota. If it is a short-term injury for Aaron Jones, probably just try to ride through it with Ty Chandler. But if it's a longer-term injury, I'd still probably explore a more impactful piece. DC times Viper. Are the Niners in trouble after their loss to the Cardinals? Are they getting exposed? Could Kyle be fired if they don't reach the Super Bowl? The Niners in general are in a very weird spot where, they have had kind of the worst side of the success, of general NFL success. When you're a good football team, when you are a well-coached football team, you lose those coaches. They get plucked and pulled away to be head coaches, to BOCs, etc., and you kind of have a challenging time, in some cases, replacing those guys. I think at times you felt that in San Francisco. They've had injuries this year, but normally when that happens, you have the Super Bowl to kind of fall back on. Like, yeah, we won that 2 years ago, whatever. The Niners have been so close and haven't been able to get over the hump and finish things. Now, it's a divisional game. The Cardinals do some good schematic stuff. They win that game if Mason doesn't fumble. And frankly, if the kicker doesn't get hurt, I think they win that game. So there's been some bad luck in that angle, but they haven't had a great start to the year. The injuries have kind of mounted. So I think there is some concern over the 49ers. I don't know if expose is the right word in general. I kind of hate that word because I think it is oftentimes just used to mitigate all the good stuff that's happened. Not that's what you're saying, Viper. I think there are issues that they've had that have been kind of identified by teams. I'm not fully panicking yet, but they got to get back on track here. From Kevin, beyond Davante Adams, is DeAndre Hopkins the most logical trade candidate? Nice profile picture, Kevin. From outside the Titans, yeah, probably. Veteran receiver, rebuilding team. Teams need receiver help. Look at the Chiefs, looking at the Bills, looking at the Steelers, potentially the Ravens, Jets, and Saints all in the market. Some of those maybe more so for Davante Adams. So I would not be surprised if Hopkins got flipped probably closer to the deadline than it would be in early October, at least is my guess. So how many trades between now and the NFL trade deadline? Is it 1? Is it 7? Is it 12? What's the number? Let me know at the pinned comment of today's show. From Christian, is that it's Ben Affleck, Lamar Jackson at it? Is that what that is? Yeah, that's funny. At this point, Aaron Rodgers might as well just retire. He's old and washed up and injury prone. Jets need to draft a quarterback this year. Also, no disrespect to Rodgers, is a legend, but just retire my man. He's not going to. He's at least going to give it this year. And what's frustrating is we've seen some good Aaron Rodgers play this year. I think that to an extent, Aaron Rodgers and what he likes to do doesn't necessarily fit the modern NFL offense. I thought he played very well against the Patriots. I thought he was very good in that game. But he was bad weather, but he also just wasn't throwing that well against Denver. And then he was bad against Minnesota. And Brian Flores runs a much more impressive, dynamic, chaotic defense that makes it challenging on offenses. And at his age, he might not be processing quite as quickly. The athletic ability isn't there. The arm strength isn't there. He got several times by that stuff. I've called him washed up before, and then he's rebounded. He's 41 years old now. This might be the end of the line for the Hall of Fame quarterback. And at some point, I wonder how some of the younger players relate to the quarterback the same way that maybe they used to or didn't used to. EV, Mike Zimmer should replace McCarthy next year. I wouldn't be surprised, but I actually hate that idea. If you're moving on from McCarthy, I think it'd make a lot more sense to go get a young, offensive-minded head coach that didn't have his best success a decade ago, or whatever timeline it was there. It makes sense for that the Cowboys do business, but I feel like all you're doing is hiring Mike McCarthy, but defense again. And I think that you should aim a little bit higher. You can stay as the DC potentially for a new head coach if it's a young offensive mind, but I think you're just kind of limiting your ceiling in the end. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. That is the best place to get real money sports action. Over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for sure to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. It's available in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. It is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your guys gets hurt. If a player leaves in the first half, does not return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. I got a college football Prize Picks slate for you guys today. I like the Travis Hunter more than receiving yards. Will Howard less than passing yards. I think Jordan James will get heavily involved for Oregon with the rush and receiving more than 88.5. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Simply go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS. You get that $50 instantly when you play 5. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. From U Green, the second cousin of Marshall Green, I think. How do you think Drake Maye will do this Sunday against the Texans? We've often seen the quarterback change lead to good results. Sometimes it's more of a veteran quarterback change that gets better instant new results because there's no film on this guy and how he's going to play, and that makes stuff challenging for the defense. Houston's a really good defense, though. I love what DeMeco Ryans and company are doing on that side of the ball. The Patriots' O-line is bad. I don't think it's going to look that great. My goal is for Drake Maye to not start seeing ghosts, not build up too much scar tissue, and show some flashes. If that happens, I think I'll call that a relative to expectations successful debut. Arnold Johnson. Did the Panthers play Bryce Young to try to showcase him? I don't think so. As weird as it sounds, I don't think they wanted Andy Dalton to keep taking more hits. I think that was said in some capacity post-game in Carolina. They give him a chance to get some playing time. He was kind of running around out there doing backyard football stuff, which did some stuff at Alabama that was successful there too. I thought he looked a little bit better. It was also garbage time, so you can't read too much into it there. I think they just want to protect Dalton, which is a weird statement to kind of say out loud, but that's kind of where we're at. So will the Panthers end up trading Bryce Young this year? I think it's a very high chance next offseason, but before then. Y for yes, N for no. Richard Potts, Josh McDaniels to the Jets as the head coach. Of all the ideas, that is one of them. I'm pretty sure he's trolling, so I will be nice, but yeah, it's a horrible idea. That's not... nothing like hiring a coach who burnt bridges in 2 different spots and expecting something different. I don't even want him as my OC, let alone head coach. Dubo NFL. Who should the Steelers get at wide receiver? I think they need somebody here. The George Pickens stuff, it kind of is what it is. He's going to check out of some games. this is who he was at Georgia. Like, he wasn't always the most locked in player. He was unhappy, and he showed it, and that's unacceptable. They need another guy. Van Jefferson, Roman Wilson's not there yet. Like, I think that, I don't know. I think looking at all your options makes sense. I'm also not sure they're going to trade a massive asset to get one right now, unless Adams wants to play for a third or a fourth. Even then, do you have the quarterback in place to maximize that? I don't know. Scotty Anderson, can the Eagles flip Devin White or James Bradberry? Well, if you didn't hear from us on Tuesday, I don't know 40 minutes before we went live, 30 minutes, somewhere in that time frame, Eagles actually cut Devin White. And I believe I saw they reached a settlement, which means they're not going to pay Devin White everything else that he was owed, because White's going to go find somewhere else to play. I bet they shopped him. And I bet that he didn't get the interest. The Eagles didn't get the interest in him that they were hoping for. Which doesn't surprise me. White was overrated. It's very overrated. Always has been, outside of that one brief run. James Bradberry, they'd love to trade for him. I don't know if anyone wants him, though. So name a player who you think gets traded. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. EV. Should the Bills bench Allen if he's not 100%? If it is because of the head injury, yeah, you have to sit him. Like, let's not be crazy here. If it's like a normal like hamstring thing and impacts his mobility, probably still keep him out there. But if he's just not 100% right for the head injury side of it, like, then you have to sit him. From Leon Vegeta Bulky. Okay, it took me a second to read through that name. Fire AP and Getsy. Hire a new coach. Trade Davante Adams. What's dicey is, are you going to be able to pay a third coach to not play for you or coach for you? That's a lot of money you're spending for a not massively cash-rich owner. I think they'll give at least Antonio Pierce another year. Luke Getsy, maybe not. The quarterback is a huge problem here, which everyone should have known going into this. I don't know why they hired Tom Telesco as their GM. Like, nothing like hiring the guy just got fired for not building a good enough team, right? Davante Adams trade will happen, though. Trenton, what should the Seahawks do on defense at this point? That's a good question. You got kind of sliced and diced by Daniel Jones, didn't you? Didn't stop the run that great either. Keep trying different things. I think having a true dynamic impact linebacker would go a long way, but I don't think they have that guy, and you probably can't get one at this time. For what Mike McDaniels wants to do on defense, like, I like Julian Love. You don't have your Patrick Queen or your Roquan Smith or your Kyle Hamilton. You got to find more pieces. I think it's more of a long-term thing in Seattle.